And we welcome you all to the day one of our seminar, Employee Engagement Mastery. We'll be touching upon for the next 3 days on various topics related to employee engagement, and also how can you and your team do better and bring a change within your organization. Well, today, on the day one of our seminar, we'll be touching upon how to lead for wellness and how do managers big impactful role in the mental health of their, while leaders and managers play a critical role in promoting employee wellness and mental well-being in the workplace by creating a positive work environment that prioritizes the mental and emotional health of their team. Managers can reduce stress, boost productivity, and ultimately contribute to an overall success of their organization. And to discuss this with us today, we have two really special speakers, and I'll be inviting the moderator first. We have Tanushree Pradhan. She's a certified leadership development and employee engagement coach from Coach India. She is a seasoned corporate citizen with over 10 years of experience in insurance, and Tanushree has led and managed large teams and has collaborated across functions on taking initiatives, ensuring customer employee satisfaction as per their stakeholders' expectations. So with this, I would like to hand it over to Tanushree from here and take it over from here. Thank you, Tanushree.
Thank you so much, Mansi. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the day one of Employee Engagement Mastery Series. Today, we are going to talk about, like Mansi said, how to lead for well-being, mental wellness, and how managers play an important role in that. So to enlighten us on this topic, joining us all the way from Georgetown, Guinea, we have Dr. Vishnu Devgra. He is an entrepreneur, a business executive, and employee relations specialist. He believes everyone is gifted with at least a few exceptional skills, and discovering, developing, and utilizing these gifts is what brings fulfillment and happiness. His passion in life is to work with talented entrepreneurs who are in the process of creating exciting and visionary business. The way he works to help organizational leaders navigate and transition through the crucial growth pains that all growing businesses experience makes it painless and exciting as possible. His purpose is to inspire and empower over 10,000 entrepreneurs and to create a long-term business resulting in 10 lakh plus jobs, right? I'm pleased to invite Dr. Vishnu Dev. Dr. Vishnu, welcome to the session.
Thank you very much, Tanushree. It's a be here.
Yes, it's our pleasure. So coming back to the topic, when we speak about well-being, the first thing that comes in my mind is, your physical well-being. Then you have your financial well-being, mental well-being, social well-being. So, Dr. Vishnu, according to you, what does well-being mean, and and how does it impact on an individual?
And thank you very much for that. I think the way I like to look at it is as the difference between human beings and human doings. In many cases, when we someone to tell us a little bit more about themselves, the first thing they start talking about is the work they do. And I think to some extent, we as parents may have caused that, and our parents might have, because when we were small, people always asked us, what do you want to do when you grow up? And it became such a all around the doing that we sometimes behave like human doing. So we do need to recognize that we're more than just the work we do. We are far more than just the work we do. And who do we want to become? How do we want to behave through this life that we have been gifted? And I believe that that is where the critical point of well-being comes in, because we do then have to think about beyond work. How do we have a life that is joyful, that allows us to really utilize those talents that you mentioned so kindly in my bio? I believe our journey is to find those and identify those talents and then develop. In some cases, people want us to copy the way they do things, or we want to copy others, but do we have the talents that those people have? And I believe identifying it, working on it, and being in an organization that understands the importance of having well-rounded human beings participate in the organization. I think those are just some broad steps towards understanding well-being and then being on the path to well-being.
Right. You rightly mentioned, understanding what the person is going through and what he wants to achieve in his life is very important, because that's when the person will also deliver, and that's the aspiration we have, right? That we want to be so and so person in our life. And during this, what I have also experienced is, and I was just recently reading an article, it said that around 1/3 of your life goes at your workplace. You spend it at your workplace, and that's why the environment in the workplace also makes a lot of impact. So when we talk about that, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers, generally we have a mindset that we are more our goals, our targets, our responsibilities, that is what we need to deliver, we need to focus on that. So how are the leaders, as related to the mental well-being of a team?
Well, I like that you use the word leaders, because many persons have not really paid attention to the difference between managers and leaders, being a manager and being a leader. And I do believe that as people evolve in an organization, they go upwards in an organization, they become supervisors, they become managers of other people. In many cases, they remain focused on the task-oriented side of the people that they supervise. So they make sure that the work is done, the KPIs are counted, the reprimands are done, and in some cases they forget to do the rewards, because they're only paying attention. The employees only hear from them when the employee does something wrong. The employee hardly hears anything when the employee does something right. So they remain stuck in manager mode. And in many organizations, especially SMEs, there is no one paying keen attention to what does it mean to develop leadership skills. In our framework, we use a very simple definition for leadership. And our definition for leadership is doing what you say you will do. Doing what you say you will do, which means that no one can really achieve that title of leader unless they do what they say or what they said that they would do. And that's the fantastic thing, because if you're truly leading, you're going to understand the importance of your own well-being. You will also be taking care of your own well-being, and by extension, you'll think about the people in your care. And you'll also understand that, yes, we work for 1/3 of our life, and for the fortunate ones, because I do know some folk who work almost half the day, some who go beyond, 12, 6 days. So if there are some people out there looking at this particular presentation and they are just 8 hours, count yourself very lucky, because you can actually count the transport, the transition to work. Some people are in traffic for a half an hour to an hour per day, one way. So it really does take a significant block of our 24 hours per day, and therefore, if we understand our own mental health, our own well-being, should we not also understand and create an environment that allows for the well-being of everyone in our care? So transitioning between a manager and becoming a leader, meaning that everything we want people to do, and understanding that people are more than just the work they do, and creating that environment, I think is that next step to becoming a leader. And then pay attention, listening to the needs of people, because there might be a male who is retired, all their adult children already out of the house, supervising a newly married female who is maybe expecting in a couple of months. Well-being for her means something different as well-being for him. So without paying that keen attention, he might either apply his own rules and be completely oblivious to the aspects of life, the aspects of work that someone else has to go to, and therefore not create the environment for well-being. And in our field, We know that people want fantastic results. Some people even know the actions they have to take for those results. Some people know that they need to make good decisions when it comes to those actions. But all of that is on top of the iceberg. People forget what it, the identity work that is needed, that drives the values that someone has, drives that someone has. And then all of that is shaped by the environment that you place people in. If we place people in a highly stressful environment, well-being will definitely be affected, negatively affected. And therefore, performance will also be negatively, because people will dread coming to work, and people will just look for every opportunity to not be at work or be away from work as quickly as possible. So if it's not a environment that really takes care of our people.
Right. And I can relate to that, because if you take India as much, majority of the places, yes, people do work for 12, 14 hours, and then there is a 2 hours commute that, for reaching your office, and then the work that they have to do at the home. So all those things keep playing in my mind. And in my experience, when I was working with corporates, like when I got pregnant during it was a new company that I had joined in, and I got pregnant, and that time the stress and I used to still work till 11 o'clock in the night, and that stress, that pressure, and then you have to go back, travel, it makes a lot of difference. And my new leader, which had come joined at that time, was the one who actually gave me the comfort. And she gave me certain leeways of, okay, you come at 10:30 instead of 9:30, come at 10:30. Do work on certain aspects on it, and it managed. And that's we stick to the organization also.
And one of the things that we do in our own organization and all the organizations we work, we have the concept of time management, which is health management, because if we could really manage time, we probably make more than 24 hours in a day. But unfortunately, none of us, a beggar and a billionaire, both have 24 hours. So it's not the amount of time they have, it's how they use it. And one of the things we always insist on, especially when we do our scheduling for ourselves, is on our calendars, we started blocking out sleep, because we know that the average human being needs between 7 to 9 hours. So we always get started with blocking out sleep, and then we block out the meals, because if you don't take care of your body cannot take care of you. And this is the only vehicle we have in this lifetime. We can't go to the dealership. Well, we're both of Indian origin, so yes, we could go to the dealership, and if we believe in karma, and we'll get another body and another life, but I haven't met my previous life owner as yet, so I don't know. So as far as I know, this is the only vehicle I have for this lifetime.
Yes, perfect.
So I need to take really, really good care of it. So in our organization and in the organizations that we serve, that's where we start. We start with, is there enough time to get rest? Is there enough time set aside to have your meals in a predictable way, so that if work gets overwhelming, keep skipping meals, a few weeks or months after that, they'll start facing stomach problems. They might start facing, dehydration and all those kind of effects, which affects their health. So if you're an organization that truly cares about the people, you'll pay attention to what it requires for these people to be able to have a good environment and good well-being.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So when I started working in the organization, and when I grew up the ladder, started having teams under me, and we have different types of people right out there, and to identify, okay, who has certain types of problems, or who are the ones who might not be that good at mental health because they're fatigued, stressed out. We don't know what are those signs that can, or indicators that can help us ascertain that?
Yeah, so I would say making sure that there is someone appointed in the organization whose role it is to pay attention, to observe what is going on with the employees of the organization, but also on a regular basis has discussions with for safe environment, a safe space, that the person knows that whatever is shared is essential, and that if anything comes out of the meeting, that it is dealt with in a professional way. So if it's a small business, small, maybe up to medium, in some cases, that responsibility still relies with the owner or the manager of the business. And I found that these owners and managers can get so caught up with just keeping the business surviving and maybe even, growing, that they don't pay attention to the people in the organization. So to those persons, I would say, either schedule the time, and what we have found a good formula is maybe an hour to an hour every 2 weeks. Gives sufficient time to keep the relationship at a good level, but also to build the trust that allows someone to share what is needed and then for the necessary actions to be taken. If it's a medium to large organization, in many cases, they would have already had established a human resource. And, in our country, although we have some departments called human resource departments, they pretty much still operate in the personnel department area. And I don't know if it's the same in India, but with the personnel department, all they did was doing the documentation, reprimanding, and firing. It was the extent of a personnel department. But now we have human resource development departments, which means that we do have to pay attention to our greatest asset, which is our human beings. How are we bringing in the right talent? How are we developing that talent? And how do we make sure that we pay attention? Because life happens to our talent. And in some cases, especially if they are younger in the workforce or they don't have mentors, things will be happening to our workforce that they don't know how to process as yet. So developing people in the HR department that can provide the support, pay attention, look out for the warning signs, people showing up late and no one having a discussion with them, someone looking withdrawn, someone who maybe comes up with ideas but gets shut down elsewhere. How does that affect them mentally? Creating a space where employees are share their ideas, because we're not just as organizations paying for bodies to show up.
Right.
And that's not ideal. We want the person's mind to show up. We want their heart and spirit to show up. So if we want all of that to show up in our organization, we need to create space, because if all we wanted was bodies to show up, then we should have said so. And then we will need to do the thinking and the feeling for those bodies and say, well, move this from here and put it there. So a lot to be done.
Yeah, so basically, exactly. So we are not computers, right? Or we can have AIs do the job if we just need bodies to show up. The reason that we need human beings or people to come up is also because of their mental intelligence that they bring in, and that uniqueness that they get to the task that has been given to them. And so like you said, just to recap, is like your errors, if they're doing any errors, or there is fatigue, there is anger, irritation, or clashes between the teams that is happening, those are those trigger points, I can say, where we can talk to them individually, or at least prioritize them and speak to them first, and then with the entire team also. And that is something that I think should help everyone. And you also spoke right now about communication, right? When we need to have that open communication, and I totally agree with you that, and communication is so very important, and it's not only just top down, because today's world, today's millennials is such that it has to be an open communication. So because people want to be in what they're trying to, what the decisions the company is taking, their opinions, they want to be heard, and so that we can take those necessary steps. So any of views on that aspect?
Yeah, just creating that space. Again, from a practical perspective, it's always good to ensure that there is that space for people to express what is happening in their, not just their department, but also in their life. As an example, every Monday morning, we have what we call in the ActionCOACH community, which is basically what I feel like expressing. So every Monday morning at 8:30 to 10, you have a team of about everyone gets to express, what went on in their week last week, what they did for the weekend, and they see happening for the upcoming week. We also use the lion format, which is, last week, any issues faced, any opportunities that are there, and what they want to see in the next week. I recommend doing it earlier in the week because it really sets people's mindsets. And if there is something that is hampering anyone, it usually comes out in the meeting, especially if you do this week after week after week and trust is built. People are open to share what's really going on with them. And it then allows not just leadership in the organization, but your colleagues at the same level or at any level in the organization to be able to reach out, step in, help if needed. It also allows people to understand that one of the fastest ways to develop themselves and the organization is actually asking for help. I'm always amazed by how hesitant people are about asking others for help. And then we have to think about the mindset. Is it that they don't like to be asked, or is it that they don't understand or they're afraid of what it may look like if they ask for help? And only through continuous communication in a structured and unstructured way. I think if you don't have a structured way, the unstructured and the informal communication becomes even less. But if there is structure to it, you also encourage a lot more informal communication. So understanding the importance, because I've seen companies where a company says, why would we take 90 minutes of the week from 20 people working at that time? But if we never listen, to what's happening with our team, and if we don't allow them to express, the amount of efficiency that comes out of those 60 or 90 minutes is well worth the 90-minute investment. Other organizations do a little talk in the morning, 5-10 minutes. It allows for people to express what's going on. And I believe during the COVID period, I think during that time we saw organizations, and this could be forced or unforced, pay more attention to their people, because when that just happened, people, leadership, management calling and finding out, well, how are you? What's going on? How can I remain connected? And how can we support you? Do we really need another pandemic for people to understand that, this is the way in which human beings remain connected? So again, I think the pandemic showed us how important communication is. I think Zoom, the platform that we're on now, evolved so much just to allow that smooth communication. I know that before the pandemic, Zoom wasn't as efficient as it is today. We had the lags, we had sound cancellation going on. All of that has improved significantly. So that just tells you the importance that we as human beings place on communication. We have all the tools at our disposal. We need to then understand that if we don't use the tools, you touched on artificial intelligence. And there are many people worried about the impact on their own jobs. And to those people, I would urge them to learn how the tool works, because it was very similar when the calculator invented. People started worrying about, well, how will that impact us? Or when the car was invented, all the horse owners were worried. But technology is a tool. And we as human beings, the people who use the tools, without using this computer, we cannot have this conversation. We cannot share our knowledge. So who benefit are the people who use the tool by itself. Cannot do that much. Someone needs to instruct it, use it, apply it in order for you to get the result. So I would say, any time that is invested in worrying about something, take that same time and learn about the thing so that you own it and you can make different decisions. But yeah, without communication, none of that can happen.
Yes. When you spoke about having a structured way of having a communication, I believe that when you have a structured way is wherein people will start opening up, that bond gets created, and because of that bond that is getting created, you will start having a lot more informal communications also. And I, whenever in my personal experience, like say if there is anything, that task that is missing, or it's delayed, or I need some help, more than writing emails and just calling up and all, I prefer going to that person, talking to that person. That connect that happens is something, that bond is different. So tomorrow if you have anything else, the person is there, okay, no, it's her work, let me first do it, I will get it done. And that's how got sorted for me. And it's vice versa, because then that trust is there, that like, no, if she's saying it, let me hear her out. That is also a difference, because then you start, your visibility also increases, you get more confident that okay, now I can go and speak to others as well.
Yeah, and
So
then just, I'm sometimes worried about our the part of our population that is like 25 years and below, because they grew up with a digital device pushed in front of them,
yes.
and some of them don't recognize. So all of them actually have, but some of them, I don't believe they understand that the phone can actually make a call, because they've gotten so texting and all of that, that I think sometimes they've lost the ability to just go and speak to the person, and the person might be sitting at the desk
Yes.
next to them,
Yes.
and they're still texting instead of also understanding how much of the body language, the sound of your voice, the inclination, the tone
Sure.
makes a difference, how much your body language makes a difference. So yeah, I think it's something we need to pay keen attention to, actually talking to people. And that's where technology, although it's a tool, we also have to understand when is the right time to apply the tool, because there are a lot of salespeople as well, sending texts, sending emails, instead of just picking the phone or showing up at the customer and having a chat with the customer. And in our measurements, when somebody actually shows up at the customer location, that conversion rates go up as well. Because human connection that happens, that is difficult to achieve via an email or just a text.
Right. That human connection is very important. And coming ahead, like few other tips or any other views from policies or any other ways which managers can make an impact.
Yeah, so we in our country now, ISO, the international standards for organizations and their standards that they have continued to gain more traction, especially since we are now a developing oil and gas economy. And because of that, the 9000 standard has become very popular in our country. And the 9001 standard has a specific area that really goes deeper into employee development, so the whole human resource aspect of an organization. So just as advice and just as a shortcut as well, because we can either learn this by making a lot of mistakes, or we can take a structure that already works. I would advise folks to get a copy of the standard. It doesn't cost much. You can get it online, and the last revision was in 2018. I think it's due for another revision. But the last revision already captured a lot of the procedures and types of policies that need to be in place to ensure that the humans in the organization are well taken care of. I think we're both action coaches. In Action Coach, we also consider the team and exactly what do we need to ensure that our team is operating at the optimal levels and level of engagement and joy in the work that we participate in. We also advocate there to ensure that the owner or the leader of the organization pays most of their attention to the development of the team, because it is really the team who then takes care of the customers and everything that's ancillary to that, and then the customers take care of the business, and that's the cycle that we educate people on at Action Coach. So, if there are folks, if you wanted the shortcut, if you didn't want to do it on your own, I encourage you, get so that, someone who's seen this happened before. And lesson when it comes to well-being as well, because if we don't know what we don't know, right? And I think that is probably the biggest realization that we can come to, is whatever we believe we know is but a fraction of the knowledge that exists outside of our head. And I love that, because I've been developing myself for years. I think for as long as I've been on art, I've been developing myself. And the more I develop myself, the more how little I know. So it's always amazing when I see maybe younger folks, maybe people who have not as much exploring and developing of themselves, believe that they know it all. I think that could be a really big hurdle. So ensuring that people get introduced to mentorship, get introduced to coaching, is one way to put them in an environment where they can move into that self-development mode. And of course, making sure that the organization itself has documented policies, because small and medium companies in many cases operate by practices. This is the way we've done it, or this is the way my mother or father did it. And they just continue to operate by practices. So for anyone listening there, if you are in a small or medium organization, and I dare say even large, because you'd be amazed at how many large organizations, the person who is doing the job just does it that way because when they showed up the first week or the second week, someone showed them to do it that way. So it is basically a practice. And sometimes I have to ask them, please go find out where the actual policy or procedure is, or what covers this. And when they go look for it, then they find it. And then they either improve their performance, or they realize that the practice that they've been doing is actually better than the procedure. So in those cases, ask our leaders to also understand that our policies and our procedures should not be cast in stone. They should not be unchangeable. They should be in a place where they can continue to evolve. Because what sense does it make to bring talented people on board, develop them, and not allow them to improve your systems, not allow them to improve your policies and your procedures? So there's so much to be done, and I'm very happy for this opportunity to share some of this. But I would just, if there's one thing that I'd really want to make sure know, I know we were going to head into questions, but is that we have a lot of tools and support at our disposal that if we keep doing what we've been doing and we don't stop and pay attention to everything that's around us, the tools, the support structures, the expert, we'll keep complaining about the results we've been getting. And if we keep doing what we've been doing, we'll keep getting what we've been getting. So I'm happy that we're taking the opportunity here to share some.
Yes, and in fact, to add on to what you were saying, what I always believe is, if you're doing any project to improve your processes, always have the ground resource person who is actually having it as a part of the project team member. So you as a leader will always be there, but involve them, because one is they are engaged and they know in and out of that process, and they can give better ideas of how you can make the changes and things. So it really helps them. Yes, so moving on towards, we do have 5 more minutes. We can definitely take one more talk, work-life balance. Especially in today's life, with after post-COVID, basically, a lot of people are thinking about, I need to have that peace. I need to have my work-life balance. I need to give enough time at my place and for myself as well. How does that have on the mindset?
Yeah, so that's a topic that I invested a lot of time in understanding better. And I came to the realization that the only time there will be balance is when we're dead. That's the only time nothing changes anymore. And there's so many people seeking that balance that I think they sometimes frustrate themselves more than they actually help. And I'd like to think about it more as harmony, harmony between the different aspects of your life. Because when we say work-life balance, we put so much importance to the work side. But I would say consider life, because we're alive for 24 hours every single day until we're no longer alive. And when we're no longer alive, we've achieved balance, because we're either cremated or we're in a box somewhere, or whatever. But nothing much changes from a day-to-day basis. So I would say think about life and the 24 hours you have. And of course, you allocate almost 1/3 of your life to just rest and recuperation. Because if you don't do that, life isn't going to be very long. So we already know that 1/3 of our life goes to rest and recuperation. We know that about 1/3 of our life goes to work and employment and what we do to take care of our needs. And we'd also want to make sure that what we do to take care of our own needs is of value to us, to our families, to the company we're working with, and to the community. So those are, some of the goals that we can align with when we take care of ourselves. And then very importantly, we have that 1/3. Hopefully, for the folks who are listening on the call, the 1/3 that they do remain with is at least 8 hours or close to 8 hours, because that's a place where they can pay attention to their family. Because when you're sleeping, it's hard to pay attention to your family and those you love. When you're at work, it's hard to pay attention to your family and those you love. So that other 1/3 is so critical, because if we continue to push very hard at work and we don't push in our personal lives, in our relationships, regardless of the successes we have in our work and in our business, we will feel dissatisfied. It's almost like achieving the finish line, winning the prize, and there's no one to share it with. There's no one to celebrate there with you. So paying keen attention to the goals of your family, the development needs, the type of lifestyle and life that you want to develop with them, and making sure that you've also paid attention to the other talents that are maybe not work related. It might be talents in music, talents in sport. It might be hobbies that keep you very energetic and engaged in knowing that you're also doing something that is just for you. Some people work because they get paid and it takes care of other needs. You also want to have some things that truly give you joy and there's no money attached to it.
Right.
But if you don't set aside the time, if you don't think about it, if you don't sit back in your chair and think about, when I was a child, what did I really enjoy doing? What were the things I used to get compliments on? Was it the playing of an instrument? Was it the specific sport? And reconnect with that joy. But it does mean that we need to achieve this harmony. And that's why, you heard my thoughts on balance. I prefer harmony, because I want my rest and my work and my personal time to be in harmony. And of course, some days we might put a little bit more in work, a little less in sleep, maybe some more in personal. It shifts from day to day, but there is a harmony that we can live with. There's a harmony that doesn't cause us unnecessary stress and doesn't cause us to feel as if we are completely off track. So that's what I wanted to share on that particular topic.
I loved your word harmony, and that is so true, because everybody just thinks, anywhere you want to join a new organization, is there a work-life balance out there? No, but harmony is the key. And yes, you will have your balance being, tilted towards one side for a few days, but till the time there is harmony, it works the best.
Yeah.
Yes. So moving forward to our question and answers, we've got a lot of questions out here, I can see. Okay. The first question is, how can we interrelate HR and psychology in corporate? And how can these two work hand in hand?
Good. So what I would say with psychology is that in many HR departments, if we have persons who are trained in the field, they would have been trained on some level of behavioral or psychology, because it will allow them to really understand what's happening with other persons. So you can come from an organization where maybe the admin manager or the person in charge of accounts or finance or even operations is given the responsibility of HR. But because they have not received the training, they might be doing the best they can with what they have. But there's also a big difference when you actually have persons who are trained in human behavior, who understand the principles of psychology to spot when things are going wrong, to spot when things are going right, and whose responsibility it is to develop the talent of the organization. And in our country, there's still not a lot of training in HR. It's although we are a coaching company, very early on, I think 2015, 2016, we had to develop a training component as well. And we had to bring in a lot of trainers in order to add some of these skills to people in the workforce. So I believe that the relationship between ensuring that we have people trained in our HR departments and in our leadership and management who understand human behavior, the psychology and how that drives people and changes people and affects people. I think it's so important. It's just like looking at a company that has those skills in-house or outsourced and a company that doesn't. And if we were to visit both companies, you'll see the difference in the environment. You'll see the difference in performance, because on the one hand, people may not understand why people behave that way. And you hear a lot of blame, excuses, and denial. Everybody's pointing the finger. Everybody knows why things are wrong, versus a place where people have paid attention to their human beings. And they've created that environment, a lot less, if any, blame, excuses, and denial, and a lot more ownership, accountability, and responsibility being taken as well for themselves and the organization.
Yes, so true. In fact, today a lot of schools in India, they have started having a psychologist for the child as well. So in case they see any changes in behavior, there is somebody who can guide them. Similarly, along with HR, that something can be done for corporates as well.
It definitely needs to.
Yes. So the next question is says leadership is a contact sport. However, pandemic has normalized remote working. Thus, how one can solve this from a leadership point of view?
Yeah, so I believe that the pandemic has allowed us to reassess job requirements, because we come from the industrial age, or we came from the industrial age, where people were basically paid to sell their time for money. And we're now in an age that is rapidly evolving. Yes, it's the knowledge age. Yes, we're now heading into artificial intelligence. Do we really want to pay for time, or should we start moving towards paying for results? And when you think about it, there will be some jobs that you actually need the person to be there physically for the tasks that they have to execute. But many of the tasks that are now knowledge-oriented can be done remotely, and you can agree what the output is, what the result is, and then pay for the result. If I were employed by you at the moment, let's say you can, instead of saying, well, Vishnu, I'll pay you for 8 hours to prepare and be ready for this webinar, you can say, Vishnu, you get paid for showing up at the webinar and delivering good content. So it doesn't matter to you if I took an hour to prepare, 8 hours, or a whole month to prepare. And it gives me the flexibility to prepare in my own way, and I know that I am responsible for delivering a good result. Now, we have those opportunities in our organizations. So, you have roles like marketing, even finance. You have roles that are CSR related, that could actually work on their own time with clear KPIs. and it's easier to monitor in some aspects as well. What the organization needs to do is ensure that they're clear and easy ways of communication so that we don't start developing a disconnect. Organizations have also gone to a mixed work week where you show maybe 2 days a week at work for the things that require your physical presence, and the rest of the time you manage on your own. So I think that has really helped our own organization. We have about 7 people who work remotely. We just have one person. Today is their last day working physically, and they've chosen now, and they have that choice to make sure that their life remains in harmony. They have that choice to now deliver remotely. And this person, for example, will save between 2 to 3 hours of their life now that was otherwise in traffic. So as an organization, we can also think about it. I'm fortunate that I live very close to my office. But think about someone having to go through traffic for an hour in the morning, all the bullying and everything that happens on the road, and then they show up to do the job of the organization. So I think we have a new option that has been well tested throughout the pandemic. We need to understand, well, what components do we keep? What components do we make sure we offer our team? And how do we create an environment with more options? Because if we do want to have that harmony, we do need to give people options, because harmony means something else for every human being.
Right. So true. So the next question says that, how employees can create a room for dissent without feeling threatened. And it can be backed by one more question that we have, is how to overcome that fear of employer sacking employee from job while working in the company. So that fear and that, that threat that we have, and then to get them to open up, how can we do that?
Yeah, so I would say, one of the easiest thing is to make a rule that nobody can get fired for expressing their opinion, right? And make it a rule and encourage people to express. And you did use the word dissent. We train people to be able to express themselves in a professional way, because if someone comes across as, hey, that is wrong and everybody is wrong and this is this, it can be demotivating to the rest of the team. So we train people, and sometimes the phrase that we teach our people is, I've observed something and I have some ideas about how it could be improved. Would you like me to share this with you? Right? So if I were to say, Tanushree, I've been in your company now for 50 minutes. I've observed a couple of things. Of course, I can do this after the show, but I would say I've observed a couple of things that I believe can make the show even better. Would you like me to share it with you? What would you say to that question?
I would be more open to that, because one is, you are not directly telling me, okay, this is not going right. You're asking my permission. So that, respect and is something that is very important that you give. And and then the response will also change. So like if I'm not comfortable, then I can tell you, no, can we discuss later, or we can discuss openly. So that again changes the interaction and the tone and the modality of conversation. So
and the nice thing is, it gives control to you, because you're the one who has to give me permission. And because you give me permission, either now or later, you're more open to listening, because you're the one who now asked for it. But if I give it to you unsolicited, it could affect you negatively. It could affect our relationship negatively. So not only does the organization need to make it safe by ensuring that people know that their opinions are valuable and they want to hear it, but the individual also has a responsibility of communicating it professionally. Because, I love, one of my mentors says, how you show up in one place is how you show up everywhere.
Right.
So if you're unprofessional at work and that's the way you communicate, I can only imagine what you're doing to your family at home, or what you're doing to your friends. So we also have a responsibility to help people become better communicators. And I think that could go a very long way.
Yes, definitely. And in fact, the fear that, people are getting sacked these days from few of the industries. And the key is open communication. When you have that clarity from your seniors as well, and then what level of confidence that you show in your team, how you manage them, how you give them that comfort will make the ease, and it will help them to get over that fear.
Yeah.
The other next question is how to deal with managerial compelling behavior.
So managerial compelling behavior. So this would be managers who want it their way. Yeah. Yeah. So, what I would say to that is, what's the type of organization that you would like to have? I think anyone who studies leadership will be introduced to the various types of leadership that exist there: dictatorial, authoritative type of leadership. Is it a democratic type of leadership? Is it a collaborative type of leadership? And we all have our go-to style of leadership. What I would, and for the authoritative type of leadership, there are times when that is really useful, right? If there were an emergency and there was a fire in the building, or one of our customers had an emergency, I think it's better if someone takes charge and says, hey, you do this, you get the fire extinguisher, you do that, right? It's an emergency. We can't wait until, we can't say, well, let us call a meeting and go sit in the conference room and have a discussion about the fire that's consuming the building, right? So there are times when someone does need to be direct and does need to be somewhat authoritative in order to get action for the benefit of the people involved and the organization. And again, it comes back to the concept of tools that we have at our disposal. So our style and the various styles of management and leadership are all tools. And as an evolved manager, an evolved leader, we need to be aware of these tools. And we need to know when to pick which specific tool under the circumstances to get the result that is beneficial for greater good. So this doesn't discount some managers who would want to be authoritative all the time, because what that does, that compelling type of manager, what that does, shuts down creativity. It shuts down people being willing to express their opinions and give their ideas and communicate openly and freely. So I would, encourage, what I would say is, if you have a compelling manager like that, get them a recording device or get a mirror and present it to them, and or even walk with a mirror, and when they behave that way, turn the mirror to themselves. Because what can sometimes happen is that that manager is not aware of their own behavior, right? So we need to find ways, and I'm being a little bit humorous about it, but find a way to have that manager become aware of how they come across. If we wanted to improve this particular webinar, we would actually have to go sit and look at the recording of it.
Right.
And most likely I'll have to ask you to critique me and me to critique you, because at the moment I can't see myself. I can see myself on screen, but I can't really, what's going on in my head, it's in my head at the moment. What's going on in your head, it's in your head. I can't see what's going on there. I can see the result of it. And I can give you some critique on that, and you can do that for me, but it's hard to do it for myself, right? So someone needs to help us with that, but we also need to be open to that. And again, we can go back to the permission question. So I would go to a manager like that and say, hey, manager, I've noticed some things that in your communication that I believe can, if you work on them, can give all of us better results. Are you open to me sharing that with you? And it's a yes or a no. If it's a no, you have a choice to make. Are you going to stay in that organization, or are you going to look at getting into an organization that's passive? Or are you going to go and find more ways to affect your own organization for the better?
I know. I think, it's true that you don't realize, they themselves don't realize at times that they are behaving, or at times it happens that if they are biased to somebody unknowingly, also at times you could become biased to somebody because you might have that comfort. So the other person speaking up and having that approach to them in a nice way, not in a crossfire kind of a situation, that can help realization, and people, then whoever it is, can take the right steps and actions.
And I always tell people that no one wakes up in the morning with their top goal in life to make your life miserable.
Yes.
So I don't think so. Maybe there are some people, but that might be more the exception. But I really don't think that one human being wakes up with the sole purpose of making another human being's life miserable. People wake up with their goals in mind.
Right.
And sometimes their goals conflict with your goals.
Right.
So only through communication can you get that resolved. Because if not, you might actually think that that person is out for you. The person is not out for you, out for them. Right? They're looking after their goals and their, so if you understand that, then nothing can frustrate you.
Sure. True. So true. One last question that we have: how to deal with day-to-day challenges that can affect mental health. Now, one of the ways that I relate and I do is, the challenges that we face, I make a note of it, and then if you actually reflect on it and convert that into a positive statement, you will see that most of them are not challenges. Those are just our limiting beliefs or our thoughts, or because we're trying so crowded with so many things. So that is one way that you can deal with them. The second way is speak up, open up to somebody who can help you out, and you identify those people who can help you to overcome these challenges. Vishnu, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think definitely making sure that you develop a level of knowledge, skill, and ability that allows you to get better results than you were getting. And everything we've spoken about today is about you looking out there, raising your own level of self-awareness, and making some choices as well about what you want in your life. And those are fantastic examples and guidance.
Yeah, sure. So, looking at the paucity of the time, coming to the end of the session, to summarize the things that we spoke of, one was, yes, you have to look at yourself as a leader and not a manager, because leader is one who actually practices those things, and then it will help. The second thing is, be compassionate, be open, look out for signs which are there, which within your teams, which will help tell you that okay, that mental health is at a good state or not, or they need help, and accordingly you can make changes in your organization. uh, the third was harmony. Yes, work life balance, it's harmony between your work and your life. Consider your life as the main thing, and accordingly you work from your balance out your work and how much time you need to allocate to your personal and to yourself as well. Me time is also very important. Vishnu, any last thoughts from your end?
Yeah, so these are my last thoughts for this webinar.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot of other thoughts to share in the
Yes.
future, but I'd like to thank the team for the opportunity to share some of what I've been exploring and experiencing here in Guyana and across the Caribbean. I would like to encourage folks as well to reach out. We have team members all across the world that can support these areas. I know that from an engage and grow perspective, one of the easiest ways in which we support organizations that may have listened to this particular webinar and thought, hey, I want to improve things in my organization. One of the easiest ways to do that is to set up a complimentary employee engagement survey. And it allows an organization to test out what's going on in the organization. What are the engagement levels? Are people most concerned about? So I think I would encourage folks that there's some things that you can do on your own immediately. There are some things that you will need to research, and there's some things that you can get support with. I know that as organizations, as human beings, we're always looking for more and for better. Make the investment to move to that next step, because what we don't want to do is complain about results we never got because of investments we never made. So if you do want results, make that investment. That investment can come in the form of time, energy, or money, or some combination of those. But keep in mind the type of results you're looking for. And I would encourage everyone today, if you can take away one thing from this session, if I could advise you to take away one, go back to your calendar, make sure that you've allocated time for your sleep, your meals, what you do for work, your family, and your hobbies. If you could block that time out, and be very disciplined about it, understand that this helps you achieve harmony, then you will automatically and almost immediately start seeing a shift in the way you feel about life. Thank you, Tanushi. Thank you for being such a kind host as well.
And it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Vishnu, for to give such wonderful insights. And there were certain things; those are mindset changer, and it will really help all of us. Thank you to Mansi and the Franchise India team for organizing this event. And thank you for all the audience for this lovely questions and being with us. And we'll hope to see you all tomorrow in the second session of the series. Mansi, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you, Tanushi, for being with us. It's been a great session. I think a lot of insights and a lot of questions as well. And of course, you all can get in touch with our coaches directly. If there are any more questions or anything else that you'd like to know from them, I've put in their email address and you can directly write to them. You can find them on LinkedIn as well, or you can get in touch with us to know more about how Engaging Grow works. And just as Tanushi said, do join us tomorrow. We'll be here at 4 p.m. India time, and we'll be with a new session and a new topic and some new speakers. And of course, it'll be as exciting and interesting as it has been today. So thank you, everybody, for joining in, and see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vishnu, and thank you, Tanushi, for being with us. It's been a great session. I think a lot of insights and a lot of questions as well. And of course, you all can get in touch with our coaches directly. If there are any more questions or anything else that you'd like to know from them, I've put in their email address and you can directly write to them. You can find them on LinkedIn as well, or you can get in touch with us to know more about how Engaging Grow works.